Welcome back. Today we're tackling the big one, Satoshi Nakamoto. It's this huge enigma, right? Who actually created Bitcoin?
Exactly. And the question isn't just who, but maybe what. Was it one person? Or, as some evidence might suggest, a team?
That's what we're digging into. The idea that Satoshi wasn't a lone genius, but maybe a collective pseudonym pooling different skills.
Yeah, because when you look back, so many pieces seem to come together in Bitcoin. Ideas from cryptography, digital cash attempts, stuff that was floating around for years, decades even.
So our mission for this deep dive is to really follow those threads. We're looking at the code, Satoshi's own writings, forum posts.
And yeah, even a slightly weird link to a 90s video game, believe it or not. We want to see if we can sketch out what this potential hidden team might have looked like.
Okay, let's start with someone definitely there at the beginning. Finney. He got the first transaction right and was involved super early.
Absolutely. Finney wasn't just a user. He was one of the very first developers interacting with Satoshi. And crucially, he was a known, very capable C++ coder.
So the thinking is, given his skills, maybe he wrote a good chunk of the original Bitcoin code.
It's a strong possibility. I mean, he was deep in the cypherpunk scene, passionate about this stuff. Plus, he'd already created reusable proofs of work, RPOW, back in 2004.
Right, RPOW. That was also a proof-of-work digital currency concept?
Pretty much. It demonstrated the core idea. So considering Bitcoin's complexity and Finney's background and, specific prior work, it seems likely he contributed significantly to the technical foundation.
Okay, now for that video game connection you mentioned, this one feels, well, kind of out there but intriguing. Space Quest 4V from 1991.
Yeah, it is a bit strange, but stick with me. The game had this fictional currency, Buckazoids, and the logo they used is like a bee with two vertical lines through it.
Huh. That does sound visually similar to the Bitcoin symbol we know now.
It's definitely close, but it gets weirder if you check the credits for some Sierra games around that time.
Sierra Online, they made Space Quest.
Right. In the credits, you find two names appearing together. Rod Nakamoto, who was a developer there,
Nakamoto, okay.
and Satoshi Uesaka, a Japanese developer whose work Sierra published.
Wait, seriously, a Satoshi and a Nakamoto credited together around the time of a game with a B symbol currency.
Uh-huh. It's quite the coincidence. And you can see why online theories picked up on this, especially now there's even a Buckazoid meme coin that popped up recently.
Okay, but let's be clear. Is there any actual evidence linking these two guys, Rod Nakamoto and Satoshi Uesaka, to Bitcoin?
No, not directly. Rod Nakamoto was primarily a game dev. His studio was bought by Sega later. He worked on lots of titles. And Uesaka's name seems to only pop up in maybe one Sierra project, reportedly.
So probably just a really, really strange coincidence of names and symbols lining up.
Most likely, yeah. But maybe it hints at how ideas, even visual ones, can kind of cross-pollinate in tech circles. The early digital currency scene wasn't just hardcore cryptographers.
Right, it pulled interest from broader tech and maybe even sci-fi communities. Okay, let's pivot from games to something much more foundational. Nick's Szabo and BitGold.
Ah, yes. BitGold. Conceived in the late 90s, fleshed out in the mid-2000s. This is a major conceptual precursor to Bitcoin.
What were the key ideas in BitGold that we later see in Bitcoin?
Well, quite a few, actually. Szabo proposed using proof of work, basically computational puzzles, to create digital scarcity, like mining digital gold.
Okay, that sounds familiar.
He talked about time-stamping transactions using a distributed ledger system to track ownership, chaining puzzles together. The core goal was minimizing trust in any central party.
So many of the fundamental mechanics of Bitcoin were already sketched out in BitGold years earlier.
Conceptually, yes. It's really striking how similar the architecture is. It laid a lot of the groundwork.
And there's more than just the ideas, isn't there? People have looked at writing styles.
Right, the Stylometry studies. They suggest a strong match between Szabo's writing and Satoshi's. Things like occasional British English spellings, using double spaces after periods, quirks like that.
Which is interesting. Is Szabo British?
No, but he might have been influenced by reading a lot of British texts, or just had that stylistic preference. It's not definitive proof of authorship, of course, but it's another data point that makes you go,
Okay, another big building block. Adam Back's Hashcash. When we talk proof of work in Bitcoin, that's heavily influenced by Hashcash, right?
Absolutely central. Hashcash was designed originally to fight email spam. The idea was you'd have to do a small bit of computation, solve a small puzzle to send an email. Makes spamming expensive.
So it's that core concept of using computational work as a cost or a signal.
Exactly. And critically, Hal Finney's RPOW system. It specifically used hashcash-style proofs of work.
Ah, so there's a direct technical link between Back's work and Finney's.
Yes, and they knew each other. They communicated on the cypherpunks mailing list back in the day. Back actually thanked Finney for some PGP help way back in '93. So these guys were definitely in the same circles.
So we're seeing these connections forming. Finney, Szabo, Back. Their ideas and maybe even interactions overlapping. Now, what about this specific patent phrase?
This is another one of those really specific, intriguing little clues. There was a patent filed, published around 2007, by Neil J. King, Vladimir Oxman, and Charles Bry.
Okay.
And in that patent, they use the phrase computationally impractical to reverse. It's a bit unique phrasing.
And that exact phrase shows up where?
In the Bitcoin white paper.
Whoa, the exact same phrase.
Verbatim. Now, King, Oxman, and Bry have all denied any involvement with Bitcoin. But the timing is suggestive. The patent application would have been public knowledge, or at least discoverable, by mid-2008 when Satoshi was finalizing the white paper.
So it implies maybe Satoshi saw that patent, or perhaps they moved in similar technical circles where that phrase was just currency.
It's hard to say for sure, but the uniqueness of the phrase makes it a strong indicator of some kind of shared knowledge or influence within a pretty specific time frame. It's more than just coincidence, likely.
Okay, let's add another name to the mix. Ian Grigg. His contribution involves accounting.
Triple entry accounting, yeah. Grigg's idea was to improve traditional double entry books by adding a third, cryptographically signed entry for transactions, making things more transparent and secure.
How does that connect?
Well, Grigg was also part of this financial cryptography community. He was actually at the same 2005 workshop as Nick Szabo. And Szabo even cited Grigg's work on Ricardian contracts on his blog. So they were aware of each other's ideas.
Okay, so another link within that specific community.
Right. And there's another potentially relevant detail. Ian Grigg is British.
Back to the language clues. That consistent British English in Satoshi's writing, color, optimize, phrases like bloody hard, it does stand out compared to, say, Finney or later Gavin Andreessen, who used American English.
It really does. It feels significant. And it's not just spelling. Satoshi's posting times often seem to align with UK or European working hours, GMT or BST.
And didn't early emails also show a European time zone?
Yeah, some emails to Marty Malmi back in May 2009 had a plus 0100 time zone marker, which points towards Europe, possibly UK, during standard time.
So Grigg or Adam Back, both being British, fit that profile. Or maybe Szabo adopting that style, as we discussed. It points away from a purely American origin, perhaps.
It certainly complicates the picture and leans towards someone with a British background or influence being involved, maybe centrally.
Speaking of Marty Malmi, you mentioned him. He played a really crucial early role, didn't he? More on the operational side?
Absolutely vital in the very beginning. Malmi, also known as Sirius, basically got Bitcoin up and running online. Their email exchanges from 2009 show Satoshi asking Malmi for help setting up the first website, bitcoin.org.
So Malmi handled the web stuff.
Yeah, website setup, getting the domain going, hosting, setting up the first community forum, writing the FAQ. They discussed database passwords, which forum software to use PHPBB or simple machines, testing the Linux build. He was the first real developer collaborator doing his essential DevOps work.
So Satoshi wasn't doing everything alone, even from the start. There was this early collaboration on the practical side.
Definitely. Malmi was instrumental. And later, in 2010, they set up an IRC channel for developers, showing that small collaborative community starting to form.
And Satoshi was also active on mailing lists, like Metzdowd, debating the idea.
Right, engaging with the existing cypherpunk and digital currency crowd. He had discussions with people like Ray Dillinger, who went by Bear. Dillinger was skeptical, worried about inflation, the lack of backing.
So Satoshi was defending and explaining Bitcoin in these forums.
Exactly, showing he wasn't operating in a total vacuum, but was part of that ongoing conversation, responding to critiques.
What about the domain registration itself, bitcoin.org? Any clues there? Our sources didn't seem to have specifics.
No, the materials we looked at didn't give us any smoking guns from the domain reg details. Often those are registered anonymously, especially for something like this. But it's the kind of trail investigators would normally try to follow, looking for payment details or IP addresses, though likely a dead end here.
Okay, so let's just sort of pull this all together. We've got Hal Finney likely contributing major C++ code with his RPOW background.
Yep. Then the weird Sierra coincidence. Rod Nakamoto and Satoshi Osaka and the Buckazoid symbol. Probably nothing but fun.
Then Nick Szabo, huge conceptual precursor with Bitgold plus the writing style similarity.
Add 'em back, providing the crucial Hashcash proof-of-work mechanism and connections to Finney.
That very specific patent phrase overlap with King, Oxman, and Bry.
Ian Grigg's triple entry ideas, his presence in the community, and the British connection for the language clues.
Plus Marty Malmi doing all that essential early setup work, website, forum.
And the consistent British English, the time zones, the engagement on mailing lists.
It really does feel less like one person doing everything and more like a synthesis, maybe a deliberate collaboration drawing on all these different skills and ideas that were already out there.
That's the hypothesis that seems to fit the evidence better, I think. The range of expertise needed, advanced C++, cryptography, distributed systems, economics, even the practical website setup. It's a lot for one person, even a brilliant one. A small, focused team seems more plausible.
A team operating under this single identity, Satoshi Nakamoto, for whatever reason. Anonymity, perhaps, or maybe just consolidating the vision.
Could be. The convergence of all these threads, the people, the ideas, the timing, it strongly suggests something collaborative is going on behind the scenes.
So the big question we're left with, maybe the one for everyone listening to think about. We've got all these threads, all these potential contributors or influences. What's the missing piece?
Yeah, what's that final link, that crucial bit of evidence or testimony that could actually confirm who was involved? If it was a team, who were they? How did they coordinate?
Is there some connection, maybe some communication log or shared piece of code still buried somewhere that ties it all together definitively?
That's the multi-million-dollar question, isn't it? Or maybe multi-billion at this point. The mystery endures. And honestly, maybe the answer isn't in one single document.
Perhaps it needs that collective effort to solve it, which is kind of fitting, given Bitcoin itself.
Exactly. So we really want to invite everyone listening, dig into these connections yourselves. What do you see? Are there other threads we missed? Maybe together we can help crowd solve this thing, find that last missing link in the Satoshi puzzle.